this has been quite a successful campaign. The LV Games, or Anglo-Welsh, or whatever the hell they're calling that competition these days, has given you the chance to kind of show what you can do, and you've been given the chance now in the Premiership. How difficult is it to cling on to a shirt when you get it?
Yeah, it is difficult. Obviously, I've had a run in the couple of LV games, but yeah, as I said, once you get your chance in the Premiership, you've definitely got to. Everyone's fully aware of how competitive it is, so you've got to take your opportunity, and then once you've taken it, you've got to keep on top of your game in order to keep the shirt. So
you look at some of the names you've got here playing in your position.
Yeah.
You know, some of the bigger names that the club have signed, really, with
yeah.
Cuthbert coming in over the summer, Cordero already here, Jack Noel obviously. You know, when you see that a signing like a British Lion coming in, are you thinking, oh no, not another?
Well, towards the beginning of the season, it can be frustrating. Obviously, just having to sit and wait your turn. But I think that it's good. Ultimately, competitiveness is good for the club, good for us as players, because everyone has to drive each other on. And also, once you do get to start a run of games, it's all the sweeter when you are getting picked. So I think you've just got to take each game as it comes in terms of opportunities and crack on.
Sport's a funny thing that even if you've got everything right, it can sometimes go against you.
Yeah.
But there's been a couple of games that haven't gone your way.
Yeah.
How much of that is down to the opposition being up for it and playing really well, and how much is it a little slip in levels, would you say?
I think it's a bit of both, but more ultimately it doesn't matter about. You can only control what you can control. So I think that for us, last week, for example, we didn't quite commit to the game mentally or physically. So, like, we have our systems in place, but if you're not doing everything flat out, then it's pretty futile.
Why is that?
But yeah, and also in terms of other teams, as Rob alluded to last week, there's definitely everyone's playing for something and everyone's hungry. So like, they're either fighting to get out of the bottom four or fighting to get out of the relegation battle, or fighting to get into that top four. So I think there's definitely a greater hunger amongst other teams. So it's just something that we need to be aware of, and it's an added challenge, I suppose, to every game, which is good.
Is it a case that, you know, given that how far ahead yourselves and Saracens are at the top, that within the Premiership you can afford to slip up occasionally? Not that you want to, but subconsciously, do you think there's an element where you're aware that this isn't going to really kill you? Getting 2 bonus points at Northampton, 2 bonus points at Quins, whereas Europe now, there is no option but to go full bore.
No, I think if you do adopt that mentality, that's when you're going to encounter some trouble. I think it's quite a human thing to do, I suppose, but I don't think you can have that mentality at all in any competition, because as soon as you start to have that mentality, you slip, and then you're actually genuine in a dogfight, and you can't have that. So we just try and eradicate that thinking at all, and just try and be as ruthless as we can in every game. And I suppose in Europe we have to be now. So yeah, obviously different competitions offer different challenges, but in terms of our mentality, we tried to keep it pretty consistent.
And just a quick look at Bristol this weekend. You know, in the past they would have been seen as whipping boys in the Premiership, and you guys, you know, at the top. But you know, they're capable of beating anyone. You only kind of scraped past them when you met earlier in the season. You know, given last week's result, does that make it even more pressure and less chance of you guys being complacent? Yeah,
we're fully aware of all the threats that Bristol have across the board, and they're a team that aren't afraid to play as well. So I think it's going to be. We won't be complacent, as you said. They nearly turned us over at theirs last time we played them. So I think if we've just got to get our head right, and then we'll see what Bristol come at us with, and hopefully we'll come out on top.
And for you personally, this season's going well so far. What could be the dream for you? What could this season offer? I try not to think too far ahead, because, as I said before, it's a very, very competitive club, and if you don't have a good game or things don't start to go your way, then you can't be looking ahead. So I just try and concentrate on the here and now, and just focus game to game.